So what teams are you looking at that'll be fighting for that number one spot at some point in this season?
I think you can't overlook Maryland again. I know that they lost all of those seniors, and like what you just said, I mean, new leaders are gonna step up. Tillman's got his guys. You know, they're gonna be ready to go come day one. I think Maryland is my favorite for that top spot, and you could definitely argue that. Another team that I really like is Albany. I mean, with DeHoga coming in, mixing with Connor Fields, I mean, that offense is going to be absolutely electric. Do you have Albany on your list?
Yeah, so I like to consider myself almost like an Albany hipster. I've been on this Albany bandwagon for quite a while. A few years ago, I wrote the first blog about that squad full of savages and
I remember that
roster biopics. So as soon as I saw, just what a bunch of wild men are on that roster, I fell in love with that team, kind of adopted them as my own. So I am a little bit biased heading into this season. I'm always going to be riding for the Danes, but this is definitely a year where, they have the offense that is just going to beat the brakes off of teams this year. You got a guy like Connor Fields who consistently putting up, 7-8 points a game.
Unheard of.
He's a guy who, you don't have polls who can match up against them. There may be 4 or 5 teams in the country that are going to have a poll that can match up against Connor Fields. Now, on top of that, you put out DeHoka out there, and there's just mismatches all over the place. You're not going to be able to contain Fields and DeHoka, 2 attackmen who are that dynamic. There's just no game planning for that. There's no matchup that you can do. You kind of just have to, kind of sit there and pray that it's not that bad. They're a team that, the only way that you're going to beat them this year is if you limit their possessions. And what's going to be tough as hell to do about that is they have a face-off guy in TD Ireland who, aside from we're going to have to.
Yeah, no worries.
Baptiste, God damn it.
Trevor Baptiste.
Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to go back. Would clap help you pick out like where to cut something?
Yeah. Oh, if you want to cut, and same with me, if one of us like fucks up, just go like that, and then we'll start over.
All right, cool. So, they're a team that the only way that you're going to beat Albany this year, you got to limit their possessions because, they're going to score pretty much every time that they have the ball. So you limit their possessions. The only thing about that is they got a face-off kid in TD Ireland who, aside from Trevor Baptiste at Denver, is one of the best face-off guys in the country. So, when they're scoring at will and they're basically turning with Ireland going, 70, 75% from the face-off X, team that is going to give other teams nightmares all season long. And I see them rolling it into Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, let's just talk a little bit about the path getting to Memorial Day weekend. They play in the American East Conference, which a lot can argue is not the best conference in Division I lacrosse. You got Stony Brook, Hartford, UMBC, Binghamton, Vermont, UMass Lowell. If they mess up a couple of those games, and let's say they get into the American East Conference tournament and don't win outright, do you think that with the name, because Albany is not an ACC team, but they've over the past years, they're an elite team. So do you think they can get in without winning the American East Conference?
Listen, Albany is going to be a huge ratings team. If you want to grow the sport, and if you're ESPN and you want ratings for the tournament, you want them in there. If you're just a lacrosse enthusiast and you want the sport to grow, you want them in there, because we saw what a kid like DeHoga Nanakoke, it was fall ball. He's a freshman. He scores that one hand between the legs goal against Hopkins at fall ball. It was a Sunday or a Saturday. There was either college football or NFL football going on, and this kid still managed to take over the internet that day. So he's a guy who is, when he's playing, all eyes are on the Albany Great Danes. And with Connor Fields feeding them the ball, this is a team where you want them to be on your sport's biggest stage. So I don't see them necessarily falling at all in the America East. I mean, no disrespect to the other teams there,
Yeah.
but I think that conference easily belongs to Albany. But if they if they don't win their conference, I think that with the star power that they're bringing to the table offensively, you got to give them an at large.
I do agree with you there. Another team on my list is Loyola coming out of the Patriot League. You got Spencer, who's a returning Tewaaraton finalist. He's got now 2 years under his belt. That is a team who is very underrated and is pretty solid when it comes, and who has been on the big stage before. So they're going to be an interesting team to watch.
And that's, they're a team that I feel like I'm always forgetting about when we're talking about, in the grand scheme of things in college lacrosse, there may be like, I'd say that there are 5 to 10 really, really, really good teams. You know, and then there's maybe like 20 teams total that, have a chance of, getting themselves into that tournament. After that, after those top 20 teams, there is a pretty big fall off in Division I lacrosse in terms of teams who actually have a shot of making something happen. And I would put Loyola in there in that, that top tier 1 category. It's just I always forget about them. And I think that that's kind of the way that they do things, where they're not necessarily the flashiest team, but they just get it done year after year. And Pat Spencer is kind of he's kind of a perfect embodiment of that, because it's not like Pat Spencer is like a Tehoka Nanacoke, where this kid comes into Loyola with already like all this hype around him. I mean, he was a late bloomer kid, gets into Loyola, just runs the show. I mean, he's a guy like Fields who's good to put up, 7 points a game every single day. So they're definitely going to be very exciting to watch. And then, so we've talked, we talked Maryland, we talk Albany, we talk Loyola, as far as a conference to watch this year, though, I am all in on the Ivy League this year. If you are a fan of goals on top of goals on top of goals, the Ivy League is the conference for you, because they've got 3 attackmen in this conference that are, I'd say, 3 guys in this conference that are top 10 attackmen in the entire country. We've got Ben Reeves at Yale, Michael Sowers at Princeton, Jeff Teed at Cornell. I mean, these guys are unbelievable, electric. Michael Sowers, I think, is the best dodger in college lacrosse. He's got unbelievable vision. I mean, he's a kid who, I said it about Fields, where teams just don't have poles that could match up against them. Michael Sowers might even be worse for defensemen in this country, because, he's a guy who will destroy you with his feet. He'll break your ankles. He'll dodge you to hell. If for some reason you decide to slide to him, he's got the best vision in the game. I mean, he hits those back doors, so you can't slide to him, or else he's going to get you with an assist. You can't just, stay man to man on you, because he's going to run right by and put it in the back of the net himself.
I completely agree. I mean, you can't, obviously, you mentioned Ben Reeves out of Yale, but Sowers, I believe, and I will go off of what you said, is the most dangerous attackman in that Ivy League.
And so we've got 3 guys in this conference who are just must-watch appointment television every single time that they have the ball in their stick. So if you're a fan of goals,
Ivy League,
I buy in on the Ivy League. And then, so that kind of rolls right into, so players to watch this year. I think that this is, I'm a little biased as a former attackman myself, but as far as watching, as far as a Tewaaraton race goes, as far as players that you have to watch day in and day out, this is a huge year for attackmen in college lacrosse. You know, we've talked about DeHoga. We've talked about Connor Fields. We've got Pat Spencer, Ben Reeves, Michael Sowers, Jeff T. I mean, it is loaded with attackmen who are just going to score at ridiculous rates all year. You know, what guys are you, you know, what guys do you have marked down?
I got Colin Burke out of Fairfield, a nice CAA bowl. Last year, he put up an absolutely monstrous freshman campaign, rookie of the year, and was also the CAA co-player of the year. I am a strong believer in experience. I think as a freshman, you play very scared, very tentatively. But we saw Pat Spencer also put in this incredible freshman campaign, and he's only continued to be better. There's not a freshman slump like you see in some other sports. I feel like in lacrosse, if you're playing as a freshman, you can only go up. So I like this kid, Colin Burke. I think he's a phenomenal player, incredible athlete. I also got Ben Reeves up there again. Last 2 years was in the Tewaaraton finalists. I think what he's capable of doing for that Bulldog offense is he's X in there. It's gonna go through him. He's gonna be the senior leader this year. He's gonna be very exciting to watch. I am
and
gotten the number one.
We're real quick on Ben Reeves. I mean, this guy, I don't know if anybody saw it during the tournament or not, but let me just read you what Ben Reeves' major at Yale is. He is a molecular, cellular, and developmental biology major at Ben Reeves. My major, I can't even read what his major is with my, and he's doing molecular, cellular, and developmental biology, all while putting up, 45 goals and 45 assists a year. I mean, this guy is
at one of the most prestigious schools in the country too.
Dude, what a fucking stud.
Yeah, Superman. Matchup nightmare. Defensive coordinators hate him.
Shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Reeves for putting that one together.
Can you just say that major one more time, please?
Molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. Nerd alert, but that's still pretty damn impressive.
Let's move forward to. That's good. Do you want to? I made a clap. Let's. To watch a little more.
Yeah. So I'll just. I'm probably gonna talk about Garnsey. I'll take Gutterding then, because you got your guys in. So I'm gonna talk about Garnsey real quick. Then I'll do Gutterding, and then we'll put that into spring sport.
You know that kid, Colin Burke from Fairfield.
What? Yeah, I mean, like I know that he had like a sick year last year, but I just never got enough chance to watch Fairfield.
He's pretty nasty, dude. I could either be so wrong and he's going to be horrible, or he's going to be like just such a stud this year. The problem is he plays for Fairfield, so we'll see. All right, you ready to rock?
Yeah, bro. I'm just curious right now though. Where's he from? Like before Fairfield?
See what high school. Yo, do you use 2 screens, by the way?
What's that?
You have 2 screens?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could tell. I'm kind of getting smoked with organization right now, so I apologize for that.
Lloyd Harbor. He's a Cold Spring Harbor kid.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, so I'll jump in, talk about Garnsey, talk about Gutterding, and then from there we'll go to Springsport being bullshit.
Yep. And then we got Springsport being.
Then we'll just give our final predictions, and then we should be good.
Sounds good, bro. All right, ready.
Yeah, a guy who I've got on my eye this year is going to be Ryder Garnsey. Now, let's talk about Ryder Garnsey real quick, because he had a pretty interesting summer. So reports got out earlier in the year that Garnsey was going to be transferring from Notre Dame to Virginia. Apparently some paperwork bullshit didn't go through, and long story short, he is back at Notre Dame. Now, here's the thing. That's got to be awkward as hell, being back at Notre Dame after everyone know that you were already on your way out of there, and then you're back there and you got to show up to practice every day. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to be there if you were planning on transferring. But you still got to get after it anyway. Here's the thing. Ryder Garnsey is a kid who, I don't care, where he wants to be. I don't care who wants him there. You give the kid the ball on a stick, and he is going to light up goalies regardless. I mean, here at the Crease Dive, fundamentals, throw them out the damn window. We do not give a damn. If you're shooting high to low, bouncers, get out of here. This isn't the podcast for you.
It's not for you.
You're going low to high till the day you die. This is what we're all about here. And Ryder Garnsey is the quintessential low to high killer. I mean, this kid,
he is the textbook lacrosse stereotypical bro. He's got the flow, he's got the low to high. The kid's just absolutely dripping in swagger,
dude. And it never looks like he's trying out there. All of a sudden, you see 3 defenders on the ground, like an earthquake just hit them or something. They're on the ground, fading away from the cage, low to high, a ripper, kissing the bar in the back of the net. I mean, there's not
goalie's raking it out.
I mean, this guy's not gonna blow the ball by you, but like as far as just pure, like you said, dripping in swagger. I mean, it is a clean stroke, his shot, and that's the guy who, but he's gonna have people to prove wrong this year, and he's gonna have a lot on his shoulders, with all that news getting out in the summer that he was looking to transfer. So that's a guy who, he's going to need a huge year at Notre Dame in order to kind of, make sure that that's still his team, even though word got out that he wanted to get out. And staying in the ACC, and speaking of ACC attackmen, last guy that I think that everyone really needs to, make sure that they have this name ready for the rest of the year. He put his name out there last year, but Justin Gutterding for Duke. I mean, this is a guy who, again, we're talking about all these elite attackmen in the country this year.
So stacked this year.
Just points. He's a points whore. And I think that, Duke's always been known for having those attackmen who are, always going to be in that Tewaaraton race. It's great to see Justin Gutterding kind of taking on that role as the top Duke attackman. And, when you can get put into the same conversations as guys like, like a Ned Crotty or a Danowski or a Jordan Wolf, just one of those elite level Duke attackmen, you're doing something right. And Gutterding's a stud and should play out pretty well for the Blue Devils. I think right now they're ranked preseason number 1 in the year.
Number 1 in the nation. Yep. On Inside Lacrosse.
We all know, though, with Duke and the way that they start off the seasons, that number 1 ranking is going to go out the window pretty soon. I mean, they're always good for losing, 2 to 3 games, like right off the bat. And everyone's like, oh, is this the year the Dukes, finally?
And then next thing you know, you blink an eye and it comes May and they're playing on the big stage. So, I mean, that's just the classic Duke. The infamous beginning of the season struggle. So going on to our next point is seasonal. Should we clap?
Yeah.
Do you you can make that transition. Are you good on players? You want to touch on anyone else that you got in mind that you want to talk about? Dude, now that we're talking out loud, the attack is stacked this year. Dude, insane.
Like every team's going to score 15 goals.
I know. What's the deal with the shot clock this year? Or did they not change it?
I haven't seen anything that's changed. I know that they were doing it in fall ball.
Yeah, they tried it out. Okay. So let me just take a look at the main Google Doc.
I mean, we talked about like Dahoka and Connor Fields, like
so that like kind of carried on to the players to watch. I think we're all set with the players. I think we should talk about spring sport being bullshit, and then just go into predictions, and then we'll be good, and then maybe a recap. I'm not sure. Do you want to take out the part with the team with the best all-around it factor, or do you have a team that you'd like?
I don't have a team. Albany for me. But we can take that out. We don't need it.
I don't really have anything for that either. That could definitely be one once the season gets going, though.
Yeah.
New jerseys, new helmets, all that. Can't be a team. I can't be a team with a Warrior helmet. That's just my only thing.
Or
all right, you ready to go? Or the Stallion. So dusty.
Yeah, and Duke, I mean, they've got that preseason #1 in the. Is that where we're gonna start?
Let's do Duke being a preseason #1 team, and Duke being preseason #1. And then talk about how they always struggle and like this is their team. They're like they always have this like classic, and then they end up blah blah, and then transition into just like how games are starting in 2 weeks. Do you know when the first college lacrosse game is?
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and that's going to be huge for Duke coming into the year. I mean, I think right now Duke has the #1 spot in the preseason rankings, but if you know anything about Duke lacrosse, you know that that's going to go out the window. So, I mean, Duke is always good for starting off the year slow as hell. 2 or 3 losses right off the bat. Everyone's like, oh, is this the year that Duke is Duke finally dead? No, you fucking idiots. Like they're going to lose their 2 to 3 games early in the season. And they're going to get hot in May. They're going to be right there Memorial Day weekend. But there is something to say about the way that Duke starts off the year. I mean, they're always slow. They're lose to Air Force last year. They're always good.
It doesn't sound wrong.
Good for dropping,
and that's a scary thing
in the early on in the year. Now, do we think that that's a major Duke issue? Or do we also think that that has something to do with the fact that lacrosse is labeled as a spring sport, but that is bullshit because the spring does not come around until the tournament? I mean, early on in the year for college lacrosse it's an absolute joke.
Yeah, I mean, with that being said, you are playing in snowstorms. You are playing in winter weather. You are playing in hockey weather, but you're on a turf field. It's miserable. Honestly, no one wants to be playing in that. There have been coaches league-wide having discussions on should the season be pushed back towards late March rather than February, which is late March is how high schools across the country do it. I agree with that. I think that it's still cold there, but that's more towards a spring sport.
Dude, and here's the thing that people never think about. The guys out on the field, I mean, obviously they're frozen. They can't feel their hands. They can't feel their toes, whatever. But as a guy who has spent a lot of my career on the sideline watching those games, that is the absolute worst feeling in the world when you're standing on the sideline. You're cold as balls, but you don't want to be the first guy to throw on the jacket on the sideline.
Yeah, you never want to be the first guy.
You throw on the jacket, that means that you're conceding that you're definitely not getting in the game that day. So we've got guys just freezing their balls off on the sideline. The guys that are playing, they hate it too because they can't feel their hands. They're not getting their shots off.
It's
on pole dickheads in the world in the beginning of the season because they know that you're frozen. They know that every single time that they get you with a little slash that it is just tenfold. So the beginning of the college lacrosse season, it may not always the struggle may not always translate on the television, but you got to know that the guys who are out there playing are just hating their lives.
I mean, you have players, attackmen, that are wearing latex doctor gloves underneath their gloves to try to stay warm. That's not good. That's just not good. That just means you're playing in these harsh conditions. And you harped on the fact of these deep holes that they know damn well that it's going to fucking hurt when they throw that slap check. When you're this 165 trying to get a ground ball, and they're coming down on your wrist. That's not fun. That hurts.
Yeah. So really, the moral of the story here, what we really want everyone to kind of come away with here is, while we're all excited for the college lacrosse season to finally get underway, that the guys who are actually, but they're going through hell right now. I mean, they've got these, these early season practices where, first off, you're lucky if you even touch your stick at all at practice. Right now, it's all mostly conditioning. Just out there, you're shoveling the snow off the turf just to get practice underway. You're practicing with full sweats on. It's definitely a grind out there. So for all the boys who are out there playing, just know
Respect.
we're feeling for you right now. But we cannot wait to get this season underway. And with the season getting ready, I think it only makes sense for us to put out our predictions for how the end of the year is going to shake up. And at the end of the year, we will look back on this and we will be 100% correct on all of our future predictions. So, on up today with, give me your, let's get Final Four predictions and your Wharton Trophy winner.
All right. For my predictions for the Final Four, we touched on it. I just think they step it up. I think they're number one team in the country preseason for a reason. I got Albany. I got Maryland making their way back. And then I got Loyola. I got Loyola sneaking their way in this year. So that's my Final Four predictions. I got Loyola. I got the Duke Blue Devils. I got your Great Danes. And I got Maryland making a trip back there again, Memorial Day weekend. How about yourself?
Yeah, so that I'm always going to ride and die with the Great Danes. So Albany, they're getting themselves in there, and that's going to be huge for that program moving forward. I think that they're a team that's going to just be, like I said earlier, they're going to beat the brakes off of everybody that they come across, and unless you're scoring 20 goals a game, you're not going to beat them because they're at least putting up 15, 16, 17 a day. So Albany's going to be in there. Denver's going to be in there. What Tierney does over there is just, it's surgical. He always has his teams playing Memorial Day weekend. After that, we're going to go, we're going to give a little bit more love to the nerds out there. I've got Yale making their way into the Final Four. It's going to be a little tricky considering, that, they've always got graduation, I mean, everyone has graduation coming up Memorial Day weekend, and the team's got finals and stuff like that. So when you're talking about the Ivy League, that's that kind of impacts them even more so than some of the other teams in the country. But I do see those nerds of Yale getting their way into the Final Four. So we've got Albany, we've got Denver, we've got Yale, and here's the thing: they've been there the last 4 years. I can't bet against the Maryland Terps right now. I mean, Heacock, even without Rambo, they've been there the last 4 years. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get back in there, even with losing that big senior class. So we've got Maryland, Albany, Yale in the Final Four. Who we looking at for Wharton this year?
I got Justin Gutterding. I really like that analogy what you said. He's really just embracing this Duke Blue Devil. You want to call him a heel because a lot of people don't like Duke, but you're putting him with names like Ned Crotty, Danowski. They are notorious for having monster senior years. I got Justin Gutterding. I know this kid personally, and he has a lot to play for this year. That's why he wears the number 14. And I think that he's going to have just an absolute breakout. And not a breakout year, but he's going to have a phenomenal senior year, and he's gonna end his Duke with a Tewaaraton hanging from that dorm, or I guess give it to your parents. Probably makes more sense. How about yourself?
So here's the thing: last year, Connor Fields put up 500, 600 points on the year. I mean, he
video game numbers.
He put up 115 points last year in Division One, and that's without having Tehoka Nanakoke on the field with him. So you put a guy like Tehoka out there who's just going to be, creating offense himself. He's also going to be getting open for some quick dunks. I mean, the combination of those two guys, 15 points last year, 135 for him.
Wow.
I mean,
you don't think it's going to be like a split, kind of like a Stephen Curry, Kevin Durant thing? Because that was my reasoning behind not going Connor Fields. Because I think you're right. I think he just absolutely has a phenomenal year and gets more points than he did last year, which is ridiculous.
I mean, I think you put those two guys out on the field together, and they're just going to work so well together because they each bring a little something different to that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, teams are going to have to figure out. I think that Fields is going to get the best pull probably against every team that they come up across this year. But teams are going to have to make decisions on who they're really going to try to contain. And that's just a decision that you're going to get burned either way. These guys are going to have a field day on the field, and field talk for Connor Fields here. But I see Connor Fields getting the Great Danes into the Final Four, coming away with it to Wharton, doing the Thompson family proud, and keeping that tradition of ballers coming out of Albany.
All right, I like it.
All right, and that is going to wrap up the inaugural episode of the Crease Dive. So thanks a lot for everyone for tuning in. Hopefully we can keep this baby going. In here actually starting up. So once that season gets going, we're going to have a lot more to say about the game. It's going to get plenty of guests in here. So it's going to be a lot of fun. First episode's always a little shaky. We're out here testing our chemistry, just getting things going, just kind of trying to get into the feel of this thing. But I think that you guys want a lacrosse podcast. We want a lacrosse podcast. Everyone.
One clap. What do you want to go off of? Damn, you're on a roll there too. But you just want to do it all over again? Start the closing or no? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just do the closing again, and it'll be we'll get it. All right, and that is going to wrap up the inaugural episode of the Crease Dive, brought to you by Barstool Sports. First episodes, they're always a little shaky. We're out here testing our chemistry, just trying to get into the flow of things here. But, we've got a real good feeling about this. I mean, you guys want a lacrosse podcast. We want a lacrosse podcast of lacrosse and stoolies across the world. I mean, you couldn't come up with a better combination of two groups of people. I mean, if you put a Venn diagram between stoolies, and it's just one big circle. So, we're really looking forward to the rest of this season. Actual college lacrosse season gets underway. We're going to have a lot more coming your way. We're going to talk about the games. We're going to talk about the matchups. We'll have some more segments in there. Great guest in here. So it should be a lot of fun. Thanks a lot for everyone for tuning in for this first episode, and let's get after it, boys, huh?
Let's go.
Load a high to the day we die.
Later.